heard that Mort was sick. It seemed like New England forgot about that and really concentrated on the important stuff, and that was wishing support that Mort would come back 100% and totally healthy. And he joins us right now on the phone lines. Mort, good to talk to you again.
Good to be on, guys. And I want to thank so many people, not just across the country, but in the New England area specifically, and going to the Hall of Fame for a day to accept the Dick McCann Award just a couple of weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago. It just struck me as my wife and I were going from the car to a waiting room before we were going to receive a plaque. It was a man in the New England Patriots shirt who first stuck out his hand to shake my hand and say, "We're all praying for you."
Well, I think that's how people feel. This goes well beyond sport, beyond any type of support, admiration for teams or whatever. So why don't you give us a rundown? If you can, give us your story and then tell us how you're doing right now, when you first found out and what you were dealing with here.
Well, the story, it's an ongoing story. I think that's the one thing you learn about cancer is no matter how you live, once you're diagnosed, you realize that it's going to be a lifelong thing. It's always going to be kind of in the back of your head. Or, listen, I'll go back to when I was diagnosed. That was the first week of January. And it was really with my ear, nose, and throat doctor locally who said, basically I had some symptoms. And the symptoms, and this is the one thing I would just tell everybody out there, if you've got symptoms or something that isn't right, that really isn't right, that is beyond the norm, go check it out. Because my symptoms went back to August, July of the previous year. But it was only in January, first week of January, and I said enough is enough.
What were your symptoms?
And that included, well, my symptoms were, first of all, I was having a difficult time swallowing and kind of coughing when I did swallow. Eventually I had some, I was coughing up blood, which is kind of, that was like the bottom line, which is, okay, I'm going to the doctor. But I also had a very dull earache. And my earache really had been there for months, but it was a dull earache, and then that increased in pain. And then the other thing, I just had, other issues with my back and my throat, the base of my tongue, all those things. Excuse me, if I pause, this is because I have to drink water just to get some saliva to speak properly.
No problem.
But it was in that first week in January when my ear, nose, and throat guy, once he looked at my ear and determined there's nothing wrong with my ear, and then he just said, "Open your mouth." And then he looked at me, and he didn't even, this is before he even did a biopsy. He said, "Look, I'm telling you right now, you got stage 4 throat cancer, or pharyngeal cancer, which is the throat and the base of the tongue," and said, "You're in for a very challenging year, but let's go ahead and biopsy this." Well, he knew what he was talking about, because the biopsy came back with that stage 4 diagnosis. And stage 4 is the worst stage, but even you learn that even within stage 4 there's different staging. He recommended that I go to MD Anderson, the Cancer Center in Houston, Texas. I did that. Everybody else had done it. People at ESPN who work with the V Foundation certainly help facilitate the contacts there. And I was there almost immediately, and there was a lot of thought to trying to finish the season because that's how our condition is. That's why I was ignoring symptoms. You get into the season, you just want to grind through it. And as it turned out, the doctors really recommended that I start treatment immediately. My treatment was going to be extreme because my condition at that time, I went through them in an extreme stage 4 condition.
What does the future hold as far as treatments go for you? What does the next few months look like for you?
Well, my treatment phase is over, and now what the deal is that, and I was at MD Anderson last week, is basically to recover from treatments, because my treatments were chemotherapy, then intense radiation treatments, which were daily over a couple of months, more than a couple of months. And anybody who's had it, and there are many who have had it, when you go into your mouth area, know that there's just a lot of side effects. You get a lot of damage. You get mouth ulcers. Tony Corrente, the NFL referee, had this somewhat similar cancer. Everybody wants to say they had the same cancer. I think every cancer is unique to the individual. But so now I'm in a recovery stage, basically, hoping not to get back into treatment. I have to go back to MD Anderson in the fairly near future. And trying to stay out of treatment and focus on recovery and focusing on really regaining some weight, strength. I lost 55 pounds. When I went to the Hall of Fame a couple weeks ago, I was 145 pounds. Now, I could stand to lose 20 pounds, guys, when it all started. But to lose 55 pounds the way I did is not the way to do it. I've got to get my weight, strength, and stability back up. And then there's just a lot of different extenuating side effects and symptoms from the treatment itself. And you maybe heard some people say, well, if the cancer don't kill you, the treatment will.
Yeah.
But I had wonderful doctors at MD Anderson, and it's just not just the doctors, it's the staff. There's a community there that in many ways it was the best and the worst experience of my life and continues to be.
Hey, Mort, it's Christian. Hey, you know what? Back before you were diagnosed, you and I had a conversation on the phone, and it dealt with the Deflategate issue, and that's done and it's over with now, and I think we're all happy with it. But just looking back, when I had that conversation with you, you took the tweet down, the whole 11 or 12 balls. But do you regret not pulling that tweet earlier once you realized that someone gave you the wrong information?
Christian, I'm at the point now, and my wife will tell you this too. I'm living 4-hour and 4-hour blocks. I can't go back and retrace this because at this point, there will be a time when we can have that discussion. I hope you'll respect this affected. That's one thing about being surviving cancer is you don't live. You could say day to day, but I find myself living in 4-hour blocks, and so for me to go back and revisit that issue right now is just not the right time for me personally. I apologize.
No, you don't have to apologize. It was just such a big deal. And, and you said it, Patriots fans, they are passionate. And one thing I learned being a West Coast guy is as much as they give, other people, other teams a hard time, I think everybody respects you unbelievably, and they respect what you've done for the sport, your coverage of the sport, your dedication, your sacrifice. I think that needs to be said. And I think we all appreciate your time and effort that you put into covering the NFL.
Well, listen, what we do is it's a job, but it's also a rewarding job, and it's a job that I've been doing for over 40 years, really, and so that's why I'm looking forward to getting back to work at some level, and being able to address football matters, and obviously the season is starting without Tom at quarterback, and that to me is a disappointing outcome. But that's about all I really want to say on that topic because I think my wife would probably hit me over the head for not focusing on what I'm supposed to focus on right now.
Mort, I'm just wondering because you're talking about how much it's been part of your life. Have you kind of turned on ESPN, NFL Network? It's something that has just been part of you. Is that part of the process that maybe helps you? Are you able to get a minute to kind of just think about football because it meant so much to you?
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like it's necessary. There's, that's the problem with this thing is, and I'm doing much better than I was, say, a month ago, 2 months ago. A lot of my time was spent down in Houston, Texas, at MD Anderson. I was hospitalized for a lengthy period of time. So, you end up in a prone position as you're losing weight and you can't eat. And you can't really talk, but it's just reading online and watching TV, watching the networks, and trying to stay current with what's going on in the NFL. And at the same time, you're fighting your own battle, and also very appreciative of efforts like you guys are just raising awareness and cancer awareness, like what the WEEI Foundation does, or so many other so many good cancer causes. That's the one thing about this experience at MD Anderson. When I walk around, you get a little bit noticed, especially early on before you've had a big weight change and your physical appearance changes dramatically, is that people recognize it. But MD Anderson was like walking into a major city, and you're just overwhelmed by how many people are stricken with cancer, and it's non-discriminate. it's non-discriminate. It's youth, it's middle age, it's teenagers, it's middle adults, it's older adults, and so you really go through this whole thing where people want to stop, and you know what they want to talk about? They don't want to talk about their cancer. They want to talk about football. So I think staying current with football also served me well in that regard.
Mort, we're going to respect your wishes not to continue talking about the Deflategate stuff, and we'll take a rain check when you are 100% healthy, and I know that's going to happen, and we'll talk about it at that given time. I just wanted to let you know that Kurt Schilling was in here just a few minutes ago. He's gone through the exact same thing that you're going through right now, and he looks great, sounds great. Matter of fact, he's gained, what would you say?
He's gained all his weight back.
85 plus
And then
pounds,
some.
something like that. Certainly encouragement for you. There you go.
Well, I've had a lot of people say, if you need to know how to regain your weight, I got plenty of ideas for you. Yeah, I'm still hovering just under 150 right now.
Have you run into Craig Sager at all when you're getting treatment?
Well, I don't think Craig would mind me telling you this. In fact, the day before Craig announced did some with Bryant Gumbel on HBO Sports. I think that's where he did it. It was about 6 o'clock Central Time, and I was outside. I was actually wearing a surgical mask because for just what chemotherapy was doing to me at the time. And out walks Craig. Now, Craig and I go back to Atlanta, way back before either one of us was on any national scene. We go way back. And Craig walks out, and I said, Craig. And I realized I had my surgical mask on, plus my physical appearance was different. And I dropped my surgical mask. I said, hey, it's Mort. And then we gave each other a hug, and I said, how are you doing? He says, well, I just got the news, I'm in trouble. And he was about to get into a different program. And so, yeah, Craig and I certainly, we saw each other at MD Anderson, and then we have a connection that goes way, way back.
Listen, we wish you the best of luck going
Mort.
forward. I know it's all going to work out for you, and we will have that conversation down the road. Mort, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. God bless
Thanks,
you.
Mort.
Thanks,
Same
Mort.
to you. Chris Mortensen, ESPN.